In a world where survival depended on ingenuity, there was one simple tool that would alter the course of human history forever. The Atlatl, a spear-throwing device that amplified the human ability to hunt and fight, seems unremarkable at first glance. A piece of wood, often carved and shaped, could have easily been overlooked in the grand narrative of human technological advancement. But its quiet, revolutionary power changed not only the way humans hunted, but also how they interacted with the world, their prey, and each other. This was the tool that transformed early humans from vulnerable creatures, hunting with mere spears, into apex predators capable of confronting even the largest beasts. In the vast stretches of time before the Atlatl, human hunters faced a relentless, unforgiving world. The earth was teeming with formidable creatures, giant mammoths, saber-toothed cats, and massive bison roamed the plains. Humans, with their relatively fragile bodies, were at the mercy of nature. Spear hunting, though vital, was limited in its effectiveness. Even the most skilled spearmen could only get so close to their prey before they risked becoming its victim. The hunt, an essential part of survival, was fraught with danger. The stakes were high, the lives of entire tribes could hinge on the success of a single hunt. And yet, the spear, though a symbol of human innovation, was not enough. Then came the Atlatl, a seemingly small tool with profound consequences. A piece of wood, often just a foot or so in length, shaped into a handle with a hook or cup at one end to hold the shaft of a spear. This simple device, when wielded correctly, allowed humans to throw spears with greater speed, force, and accuracy. It amplified the human arm's natural power, creating a mechanical advantage that vastly increased the distance and lethality of the spear. The Atlatl, in essence, was a lever. By extending the length of the human arm, it allowed for the transfer of more energy to the spear, turning a basic hunting tool into a formidable weapon. But why was this innovation so significant? The answer lies in the very nature of human survival. Before the Atlatl, hunting large game was a matter of skill, stamina, and, most importantly, proximity. The spear could be thrown from a distance, but only at short range. Getting close to dangerous prey was a risky, life-threatening endeavor. A miss or a poor throw could mean death. With the Atlatl, humans were able to throw their spears with far more power, enabling them to engage their prey from a safer distance. The speed and accuracy of a projectile shot from an Atlatl made hunting more efficient, and that efficiency was life-saving. Yet, it wasn't just about survival. The invention of the Atlatl marked a profound shift in how humans viewed themselves within the natural world. The tool, as simple as it seemed, allowed humans to transcend the limitations of their physical bodies and transform their relationship with nature. No longer were humans merely prey in the vast ecosystem. With the Atlatl, they became the dominant force, able to hunt with unparalleled precision and power. The once helpless human, vulnerable to the beasts of the world, had suddenly become the hunter. The implications of this shift were not just physical, they were psychological. The human experience of hunting was forever altered. To stand at a distance and send a spear flying with such force created a sense of detachment, but also a sense of empowerment. The act of hunting, once a terrifying confrontation with nature, became a more calculated, deliberate act. The hunter, using the Atlatl, was no longer at the mercy of his prey, he controlled the battle. This shift in the balance of power is a fundamental part of what makes the Atlatl so remarkable. It gave early humans the tools not only to survive but to thrive. But the Atlatl's significance wasn't limited to hunting alone. It redefined warfare. In the world of early human conflict, the Atlatl became a weapon of choice. As societies grew and tribes clashed, the Atlatl provided a strategic advantage. Warriors could hurl projectiles with deadly force, making them more lethal than ever before. The same mechanical advantage that allowed the tool to be effective in hunting was now used in battle. The ability to strike from a distance, to stay out of reach of enemies while still inflicting damage, changed the way wars were fought. The Atlatl became not only a tool for survival, but for conquest. It was a tool that defined power, giving its wielder the upper hand in both hunting and combat. As the Atlatl spread across different regions, it became more than just a weapon. It became a symbol of human ingenuity. Different cultures adapted it in their own unique ways, creating a wide range of designs suited to their specific needs. From the arid deserts to the dense forests, the Atlatl was used by societies around the world, from the ancient peoples of the Americas to the tribes of the Eurasian steppes. Despite the cultural differences, the core principle remained the same, a tool that gave humanity an edge over nature and rivals. However, the Atlatl wasn't just a tool for survival or war. It represented something deeper about the human spirit. It was an embodiment of the drive to control, to master, and to overcome. In its simplicity, the Atlatl encapsulated a universal truth about the human experience, that we are defined not by the limitations of our bodies, but by our ability to think, innovate, and adapt. The Atlatl, in its purest form, was a statement about human agency. It was a testament to the boundless creativity of our ancestors, their ability to find solutions in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges. What is perhaps most profound about the Atlatl is how it reflects a key part of human nature, our insatiable curiosity and our desire to improve. In a time when every day was a struggle for survival, the Atlatl represented the triumph of intellect over physical constraints. It showed that even in a world dominated by giants and predators, humans could carve out their place through wit, not just might. The ability to take a simple stick, shape it, and create something so powerful was an act of both necessity and genius. The Atlatl not only changed the way humans hunted and fought, but it also changed the way they saw themselves. It was a tool that elevated the human experience from one of mere survival to one of mastery. It allowed our ancestors to challenge the world around them, to confront danger with precision and power. And in doing so, it marked the beginning of a new chapter in the story of humanity. The Atlatl was more than just a tool, it was a symbol of our ability to transform our environment and ourselves. It was the first step toward a future where humanity could rise above the forces of nature and carve out a place at the top of the food chain. In the end, the Atlatl was not just a means to an end, but a manifestation of the spirit of innovation that has defined humanity for millennia. Before the advent of the Atlatl, the world was a much more dangerous place for early humans. They were not yet the dominant force on Earth but rather a species struggling to survive in a hostile environment. The land was populated by massive predators and prey that far outstripped them in strength and size. In this prehistoric world, survival was not a guarantee. It was a battle of wit, endurance, and, most importantly, proximity. Early humans relied on their physical abilities and basic tools to hunt and defend themselves. But even the most skilled hunter was not invincible. The stakes were always high, and the margin for error was perilously small. The spear was the primary weapon of choice for early human hunters, a tool crafted from wood, stone, or bone, with a sharp point designed to pierce the flesh of animals. In its earliest form, the spear was not much more than a sharpened stick, thrust into the side of an animal at close range. This method was effective in some cases, but it came with significant risks. The hunter had to be close enough to their prey to thrust the spear with precision, which often meant getting dangerously close to large, aggressive animals. Even a small miscalculation in timing or distance could result in injury or death. Imagine the tension of the chase, the adrenaline coursing through the hunter's veins as they sprinted toward a charging mammoth or a swift bison, trying to close the gap before the animal turned to defend itself. The risk was constant, and the consequences of failure were severe. Even with the best tools and techniques, hunting large game required immense skill, strength, and luck. The hunters of the past were in a constant race against time, using their knowledge of animal behavior and terrain to gain an advantage. But no matter how skilled they were, the hunter was always vulnerable. The spear was a relatively short-range weapon, and even with a direct hit, it didn't guarantee a kill. If the animal wasn't incapacitated immediately, it could fight back with devastating force, charging at the hunter with lethal speed and power. The hunter, despite their best efforts, was still at the mercy of the prey they sought to capture. This delicate balance between life and death was a defining feature of prehistoric existence. The animals that early humans hunted were often much larger and more dangerous than any creature humans had to face today. The woolly mammoth, for example, could weigh several tons and had tusks that could be used as deadly weapons. The saber-toothed cat, with its razor-sharp teeth and powerful jaws, was a predator that could tear through flesh in seconds. Even the bison, though not as terrifying as the mammoth, was still a formidable opponent. These animals were not just prey but adversaries that fought back fiercely when threatened. The methods of hunting were equally unforgiving. Early humans didn't have the luxury of modern weapons, traps, or advanced strategies. They relied on a combination of stealth, endurance, and brute force to take down their prey. Often, hunting involved tracking an animal over long distances, waiting for the right moment to strike. The animals, too, were keenly aware of their surroundings, and the hunter had to remain hidden, moving cautiously to avoid detection. One wrong move, one rustle in the bushes, one footstep out of sync with the rhythm of the hunt, could send the prey fleeing, and with it, the hope of a successful hunt. The desperation of early humans in their struggle to feed themselves is hard to imagine today, with the comforts of modern technology and abundance. Every successful hunt was a victory, but it came at a cost. The risk of injury or death was ever present. Yet, it was not just the physical danger that made these hunts so challenging, it was also the psychological toll. The hunter was constantly aware of their vulnerability, knowing that a single mistake could lead to disaster. The experience of hunting was not just a matter of physical prowess but also mental fortitude. It required an unyielding focus, a capacity to stay calm under pressure, and the ability to make quick decisions in the face of danger. This was the world before the Atlatl, a world where survival was a daily struggle, and every hunt carried with it the potential for failure. The spear, though an effective tool, was not enough to ensure success. It required the hunter to be too close to the animal, leaving little room for error. The threat of injury or death was always lurking just beneath the surface, and even the best hunters were not immune to its dangers. But in this environment of constant struggle, necessity became the mother of invention. Humans, always looking for ways to improve their chances of survival, began to develop new tools and techniques. The need to hunt more efficiently and safely led to the creation of the Atlatl, a tool that would change the course of human history. The Atlatl was not just an improvement on the spear, it was a game changer. It allowed hunters to engage their prey from a distance, reducing the risks associated with close-range hunting. Before the Atlatl, humans had no way of effectively increasing the range of their weapons. They had to rely on their own strength to throw a spear, which was limited by the length of their arms and the force they could generate. With the Atlatl, however, humans gained the ability to throw a spear much farther and with much more power. The Atlatl acted as an extension of the arm, increasing the leverage and energy behind the throw. A spear that would have been ineffective at close range could now be thrown with lethal force from a safer distance. This shift was not just a technical improvement, it was a psychological breakthrough as well. The Atlatl allowed humans to take control of their environment in a way that had not been possible before. No longer did they have to rely on brute force and risk their lives to bring down prey. With the Atlatl, they could stay out of reach of the animals they hunted, engaging them from a safe distance. This created a sense of empowerment, as the hunter was no longer at the mercy of their prey. Instead, they became the ones who held the power in the relationship. The impact of the Atlatl was felt not just in the realm of hunting but in the very way humans saw themselves. It was a tool that allowed them to transcend the limitations of their bodies and begin to dominate their surroundings. The Atlatl represented a shift in the human psyche, a move from being vulnerable and reactive to being active and in control. It was a tool that gave humans a new sense of agency, allowing them to interact with the world on their own terms. In a world where survival was a constant struggle, the Atlatl provided a means of overcoming the odds. It allowed humans to hunt more effectively, increasing their chances of success and reducing the risks of injury and death. It gave them the ability to confront large predators and prey with confidence, knowing that they had a tool that could level the playing field. The Atlatl was not just a weapon, it was a symbol of human ingenuity, a testament to the ability of early humans to adapt and overcome the challenges they faced. It was a simple tool, but its impact on the course of history was profound. This was the world before the Atlatl, a world where every hunt was a life-or-death struggle, where survival depended on skill, luck, and the ability to adapt. The Atlatl changed everything. It was the beginning of a new era in human history, one where humans would no longer be at the mercy of the beasts they once feared. With the Atlatl, they could fight back. And for the first time, they could win. The Atlatl was a tool born out of necessity, yet it transformed the very fabric of human existence. In its earliest iterations, it was far from the sleek, refined weapon we recognize today. It was rudimentary, a product of trial and error, shaped by countless generations of experimentation. The first versions of the Atlatl were crude, often made of wood, bone, or antler. They lacked the precision and design that would come later, but they carried the seeds of a revolutionary shift in human capability. Each early version represented the creative attempt to solve a fundamental problem, the need to hunt more effectively, to extend the range of human reach and power. The most basic form of the Atlatl was nothing more than a simple lever. It extended the human arm, giving it more length and force. Early humans, aware of the limits of their physical bodies, sought to amplify their strength in any way they could. The Atlatl, which harnessed the physics of leverage, was their answer. With it, a hunter could throw a spear farther and with greater force than ever before. This newfound power created a ripple effect, not just for hunting but for human culture and warfare as well. At its core, the Atlatl was built to increase the force behind a spear throw by using the mechanics of leverage. The hunter would place a spear in the hooked end of the Atlatl, which, when thrown, would act as an extension of the arm. The Atlatl would harness the hunter's body motion, transforming the energy generated into speed and precision, making the spear fly further, faster, and with much greater impact. This amplified throwing power allowed humans to hunt larger prey more effectively and from a safer distance, but the full potential of the Atlatl was far from obvious in the early days of its use. The first versions were rudimentary and unrefined. Early Atlatls were often handmade, crafted from whatever materials were readily available: wood, bone, stone, and even antler. These materials were shaped with the basic tools of the time, often knives and other sharp implements. The process of crafting these early Atlatls was not a precise science. They were functional, not beautiful, designed primarily for one purpose: survival. In many cases, the first Atlatls were little more than shaped sticks with a simple hook or notch to hold the spear. They were crude but effective. But there was something inherently brilliant in their simplicity. These early Atlatls might not have been aesthetically pleasing or finely honed, but they were a response to the most fundamental needs of early humans: survival and efficiency. Each early version of the Atlatl was an experiment, a step forward in humanity's journey to master its environment. And while their design may have been basic, they opened the door to further innovation. As time passed and humans became more adept at crafting tools, the design of the Atlatl began to evolve. It became more refined, more specialized. The wooden shafts became smoother and more aerodynamic, and the hooks that held the spear were made to fit more securely, allowing for greater control. Early versions of the Atlatl were often heavy and unwieldy, but as the tool was improved, it became lighter and more balanced, allowing for longer, more accurate throws. This evolution in design reflected a deepening understanding of the mechanics of throwing and the increasing sophistication of human craftsmanship. But the importance of the Atlatl went beyond its functional improvements. It represented a leap in human ingenuity. The early Atlatl was not merely a practical tool, it was a product of creativity. It was an object that encapsulated humanity's innate desire to solve problems and extend its reach beyond its natural limits. The process of refining the Atlatl mirrored the human journey toward mastery over nature, a journey that would ultimately shape the course of history. The leap from a basic spear to an Atlatl was not simply a matter of improving an existing tool, it was an entirely new way of thinking. Early humans were no longer restricted to using their bodies and simple tools in their basic form. With the Atlatl, they could manipulate the environment in ways that had previously been impossible. They could hunt more efficiently, engage larger and more dangerous prey, and defend themselves from predators with increased distance and power. The Atlatl's role in hunting expanded dramatically as its design evolved. Once perfected, the Atlatl allowed humans to hunt in new and innovative ways. The larger, stronger animals of the prehistoric world, such as mammoths, bison, and saber-toothed cats, were now within reach. What once required a close-quarters struggle could now be done from a safer distance, giving the hunter the ability to strike with deadly force before the animal had a chance to fight back. The Atlatl allowed humans to take down animals they would otherwise never have been able to approach. But the Atlatl's impact wasn't limited to hunting. As its use became more widespread, it began to play a pivotal role in the development of early warfare. Early humans had no written records of these conflicts, but the evidence of their existence is scattered throughout archaeological sites, where remnants of Atlatls and weapons can still be found. It is clear that early humans, much like their prehistoric counterparts, used the Atlatl in warfare to gain an advantage in battle. The Atlatl's increased range and force made it an effective weapon not just for hunting but also for defense and offense during combat. As different cultures began to adapt the Atlatl to their needs, the design of the tool varied. While the basic principles remained the same, different regions and cultures developed their own versions of the Atlatl, each reflecting the particular needs and environments of its people. The Atlatl became a cultural artifact, shaped not just by function, but by the hands of those who wielded it. Some Atlatls were more ornate, decorated with intricate carvings and symbols, while others were more utilitarian in design, focusing on practicality over decoration. Despite the variations, the core function of the Atlatl remained the same. It was a tool for survival, a means to extend the human reach and increase the chances of success in the hunt. Its importance in prehistoric societies cannot be overstated. It was a tool that transcended its physical form and became a symbol of human ingenuity, resilience, and creativity. In a world where survival was a daily struggle, the Atlatl represented the human capacity to adapt, to evolve, and to conquer the challenges posed by the natural world. As early humans refined their use of the Atlatl, they also began to refine their understanding of the natural world. The tool was a bridge between the physical and mental aspects of survival. It was not enough to simply possess a weapon that increased your strength, you had to know how to use it. The act of hunting with the Atlatl required skill and understanding, not just of the tool itself, but of the behavior of the animals being hunted, the terrain, and the environment. The Atlatl forced humans to become not just better hunters, but better strategists and more thoughtful planners. The development of the Atlatl was a turning point in human history, not just for its immediate impact on hunting and warfare, but for the broader shift it signaled. It marked the beginning of an era where human innovation and creativity were no longer just about survival, but about mastery. The Atlatl represented a new way of interacting with the world, one that relied on intelligence and problem-solving rather than sheer physical strength. It was a tool that demonstrated the power of human imagination, the ability to harness the forces of nature to create something that could change the course of history. As humans began to wield the Atlatl with increasing proficiency, they gained not just power but a sense of control over their environment. The world no longer seemed as vast and unyielding. With the Atlatl in hand, humans could conquer the challenges of the natural world with newfound precision and confidence. The evolution of the Atlatl was a reflection of humanity's desire not just to survive, but to thrive. And with each iteration of the tool, early humans came closer to mastering their world. In the midst of survival and the ongoing struggle to master the forces of nature, early humans found themselves not only innovating for practical purposes but also weaving a deeper connection between their tools and their spiritual lives. The Atlatl, though a purely functional object in many ways, became more than just a means to hunt or defend. It transformed into a powerful symbol, something sacred, perhaps even divine, in the eyes of those who wielded it. For early humans, there was always a blending of the practical and the spiritual, a recognition that their tools were not just extensions of their bodies but also conduits to something greater, something beyond the material world. The Atlatl, in this context, was no different. To understand this relationship, one must look beyond the mechanical design and into the beliefs of the people who created and used the tool. Many early cultures, from the indigenous peoples of the Americas to the ancient tribes of Europe, viewed their weapons and hunting tools as imbued with spiritual significance. They did not simply use these tools to obtain food or gain power over nature. They believed that these tools had a life of their own, a certain spirit that could be invoked through rituals and ceremonies. The act of hunting, of wielding a weapon such as the Atlatl, was thus a sacred duty, one that connected the hunter to the divine forces of the world. It was not just a means of survival but a way to communicate with the gods, to gain favor and strength for the task at hand. The Atlatl, in its earliest forms, may not have been the polished tool of later generations, but it still carried immense symbolic weight. It was seen as a gift from the gods, a tool that allowed humans to transcend their physical limitations and interact with the world in a more powerful way. Early humans would have known that without the Atlatl, hunting would have been much more difficult and dangerous. But with it, they felt they had access to something extraordinary, something that gave them dominion over the beasts of the land. It is easy to imagine that such a tool, so effective in battle and hunting, would have inspired reverence, with hunters treating their Atlatls not just as tools but as sacred objects, perhaps even speaking to them before heading out on a hunt, invoking their strength and power. In many ancient cultures, there was a deep belief in animism, the idea that all things, animate and inanimate, contained spirits. This belief would have extended to the Atlatl, as well as to the animals it was used to hunt. The act of hunting was not simply about killing an animal for food, it was about maintaining a relationship with the natural world, about respecting the spirits of the animals. The Atlatl, as a tool used in the hunt, was seen as an instrument of both power and respect. To wield the Atlatl was to engage in a spiritual practice, one that required not only physical skill but also a deep sense of reverence for the life being taken. It was a delicate balance, hunting for sustenance while also honoring the animal's spirit and ensuring that the forces of nature remained in balance. Such beliefs are not confined to any single culture or time period. Across the globe, from the hunter-gatherers of the ancient Americas to the tribal societies of Europe, tools of hunting and warfare were often treated with reverence. In some cultures, weapons were ritually cleansed, decorated, and stored in sacred places to honor their power and protect those who wielded them. The Atlatl, as a crucial hunting weapon, likely followed similar practices. The early Atlatls would have been passed down through generations, perhaps carved with symbols or painted with designs that held personal or spiritual significance. These markings were not just decorative, they were a way of connecting the user to the ancestors who had crafted them and the gods who had given them the strength to hunt. The belief that tools like the Atlatl could carry divine power also reflects the broader role of technology in early human societies. It wasn't just about practical utility, it was about embedding human creativity into the very fabric of the world. The Atlatl was not merely a tool for survival but a way of asserting human identity in the natural world. Early humans were not passive participants in the ecosystem. They were active agents, using their intelligence and creativity to shape their environment. In the eyes of these ancient people, the Atlatl was a testament to their ingenuity, a physical manifestation of their connection to the divine forces that governed the world. At the same time, the act of hunting with the Atlatl may have been viewed as a ritual in itself. It was not enough to simply use the tool to kill the prey, the hunter had to perform the act correctly, with the proper respect for the animal and the forces that governed the hunt. The hunter, armed with the Atlatl, became a vessel for these spiritual forces, channeling the power of the weapon and the gods into their actions. This ritualistic aspect of hunting with the Atlatl is echoed in many cultures, where rituals and ceremonies are conducted before, during, and after a hunt to ensure success and to maintain harmony with the natural world. In some tribes, the Atlatl may have even been used in ceremonial contexts outside of hunting. As a powerful tool, it may have been incorporated into rituals designed to honor the gods, ask for protection in battle, or ensure good fortune in the hunt. The Atlatl, in these cases, was not just a weapon of war or survival, it was a conduit for invoking the supernatural, a key to communicating with forces beyond human comprehension. Its power, both physical and spiritual, made it a central object in many early cultures' worldview. The symbolism of the Atlatl also extended to its role in warfare. Just as it was a tool for hunting, the Atlatl was a weapon of war, giving its user the ability to strike from a distance. In the context of battle, the Atlatl was more than just a weapon, it was a symbol of human triumph over nature and over adversaries. It allowed early humans to engage in combat without being as vulnerable as they would have been with other weapons, like the spear, which required close proximity to the enemy. The Atlatl's range, combined with its power, gave warriors the upper hand in conflicts, and this ability to dominate the battlefield would have contributed to its status as a sacred object. The Atlatl's spiritual significance was not only a reflection of the importance of hunting and warfare but also of the broader human need for connection to the world around them. In a world where survival was never guaranteed, the Atlatl became more than just a tool, it became a way for humans to assert their place in the world, to assert control over their environment, and to communicate with the forces that governed life and death. It represented the power of human creativity and ingenuity, a tool that allowed early humans to reach beyond their physical limitations and touch something divine. As the Atlatl became more refined and widespread, its symbolic power likely grew. It was no longer just an object of utility, it became a key component in the spiritual and cultural life of many early human societies. In its design, its use, and its meaning, the Atlatl was deeply tied to the spiritual beliefs of the people who used it. It was a tool for survival, a weapon of war, and a sacred object, all rolled into one. The Atlatl represented the triumph of human ingenuity, the power of the gods, and the connection between the two. It was a tool that not only changed the course of history but also shaped the way early humans saw themselves and their place in the world. The introduction of the Atlatl marked the beginning of a significant transformation in how early humans approached both hunting and warfare, shifting the balance of power in ways that would influence not only their immediate survival but also their future development as a species. This newfound ability to throw spears with greater force and distance fundamentally changed the dynamics of predator-prey relationships, as well as the structure of early human societies. The Atlatl, though a simple tool in design, catalyzed a revolution that stretched beyond the immediate practicalities of securing food and protection. It represented a new mode of thinking, a leap from reactive survival to proactive control over the environment, laying the groundwork for future technological innovations. At the heart of this transformation was the way the Atlatl allowed hunters to extend their range, which in turn gave them a crucial advantage in the hunt. By enabling humans to throw spears with more power, speed, and accuracy from a safe distance, the Atlatl redefined the way people engaged with their prey. The hunter, armed with this tool, could now stay out of reach of dangerous animals like mammoths and bison, reducing the inherent risks of close-quarter combat. This shift had immediate practical consequences. Hunters could now engage prey from farther away, potentially killing or wounding them before the animals had a chance to retaliate. This change in hunting dynamics was not just about safety, it also enabled the possibility of more efficient hunts. The ability to strike at greater distances meant that hunters could more easily target specific vital areas of an animal, ensuring a faster, more humane kill. As the Atlatl made hunting more effective, it also allowed for more frequent and successful hunts, which in turn helped early human groups better sustain themselves. With a tool that extended the reach of the spear, early humans could hunt in new ways, with more precision and with less physical effort. Over time, these advantages would allow humans to thrive in regions where they may have otherwise struggled, taking down larger animals with ease and gradually pushing their influence into new territories. But the Atlatl's impact was not limited to hunting alone. the tool quickly gained significance in the realm of warfare as well. Much like hunting, early conflicts between human groups were dangerous, chaotic, and often decided by physical strength and close-range combat. With the Atlatl, this balance of power began to shift. In combat, the tool's ability to launch projectiles from a distance allowed warriors to strike from afar, making it a highly strategic asset. Combatants armed with Atlatls could engage enemies from a safer distance, reducing their own vulnerability while increasing their effectiveness. Whether defending against invaders or attacking rival groups, the Atlatl enabled early humans to fight with greater precision, coordination, and effectiveness. The military use of the Atlatl mirrored the same principles that made it effective in hunting. Just as hunters would rely on its increased range to take down larger animals, so too would warriors use the Atlatl to strike at enemies from a safe distance. This allowed for a new form of warfare, one that relied not just on brute force, but on intelligence and tactics. In battles, the Atlatl provided an edge to those who wielded it, enabling them to soften up an enemy before a direct engagement, or to pick off key individuals from the opposing side with deadly accuracy. Furthermore, the Atlatl allowed for the creation of more diverse tactics. It wasn't just about throwing a spear, it was about the versatility that the tool introduced into combat. Atlatls could be used in conjunction with different types of projectiles, stone-tipped spears, arrows, and other specialized weapons. This flexibility allowed warriors to adapt to different situations and enemies, making the Atlatl a powerful tool for strategic planning. The ability to use projectiles in a variety of ways also helped shape the development of early warfare tactics, allowing for more coordinated and complex military strategies. As humans began to refine the Atlatl and incorporate it into their daily lives, it gradually became a symbol of status, power, and innovation. In many early societies, the possession and mastery of such a tool would have been a mark of prestige. Those who were skilled in its use were likely highly respected, and such individuals may have played important roles not only in the hunt and battle but also in shaping the culture and leadership of their communities. In this way, the Atlatl became a symbol of human capability, intelligence, and mastery over nature. In certain cultures, the tool's influence extended beyond practical application. The Atlatl became part of the broader cultural fabric, intertwined with myths, rituals, and the collective identity of early human societies. Its power as a weapon and tool likely infused it with symbolic meaning. The Atlatl, in many ways, represented more than just a practical object. It was a manifestation of the human drive to conquer, to control, and to transcend the physical limitations of the body. Early humans, perhaps realizing the unique power of this tool, began to imbue it with spiritual significance. It wasn't just a means of survival, it was a means of asserting control over life and death, of making humans the masters of the earth, capable of taking on the largest, most dangerous animals and the fiercest enemies. Over time, the use of the Atlatl spread across continents and cultures, with each society adapting it to its own needs and environments. In some regions, the tool became more elaborate, with designs reflecting cultural preferences and available materials. In others, the Atlatl remained a more utilitarian object, focused on function over form. Yet despite these variations, the underlying concept remained the same, a tool that extended the hunter's reach and increased their effectiveness. The Atlatl was one of the first human inventions to significantly alter the power dynamics of the natural world. It allowed humans to confront animals and rivals in ways that had previously been impossible. As the Atlatl was refined and its use spread, it had a profound impact on the trajectory of human development. The mastery of the Atlatl marked the beginning of an era in which humans could engage with the environment in ways that went beyond basic survival. It enabled the rise of more complex social structures, as successful hunts and victories in battle could be translated into greater resources, territory, and influence. The ability to efficiently hunt large game meant that early human groups could thrive in new regions, expanding their reach and establishing themselves in ecosystems that were once out of their grasp. This shift had a profound effect on the way human societies organized themselves. The increased efficiency of hunting with the Atlatl meant that food could be acquired more reliably, leading to the growth of permanent settlements and the development of more complex social structures. As humans began to settle in one place, they were able to accumulate resources, create surpluses, and develop new technologies. The Atlatl, as a tool that revolutionized hunting, became a key component of the survival strategy that allowed early humans to transition from a nomadic lifestyle to one based on agriculture, settlement, and social cooperation. The development and spread of the Atlatl also played a critical role in the evolution of human communication and cultural expression. As the tool became more common, it undoubtedly began to serve as a focal point for human creativity and artistic expression. In many cultures, hunting tools were not just functional objects but also works of art, decorated with intricate carvings and symbols. The Atlatl, with its rich history and symbolic importance, would have served as a canvas for these expressions, giving rise to art forms that reflected the beliefs and experiences of early humans. In this sense, the Atlatl was not just a technological advancement, it was a cultural artifact that captured the essence of early human innovation, creativity, and connection to the world around them. The legacy of the Atlatl, though its practical use gradually diminished with the rise of other weapons like the bow and arrow, continued to influence human development in ways that would shape the future. It was a tool that marked a pivotal moment in the story of humanity, a symbol of the ingenuity and determination that allowed early humans to transform their environment and carve out their place at the top of the food chain. The Atlatl was, in many ways, the first true technological leap that set the stage for the countless innovations that followed. It was the beginning of a new era, one in which humans would no longer be solely dependent on the physical limitations of their bodies but would instead harness their intellect and creativity to conquer the challenges of the natural world. The Atlatl, despite its simplicity, had far-reaching consequences that extended beyond the immediate benefits of hunting and warfare. It marked a profound shift in the way early humans viewed their relationship with the natural world. For millennia, humans had been at the mercy of nature, forced to adapt to the harsh realities of their environment. Survival depended on their physical prowess, their understanding of animal behavior, and the tools they used. But with the advent of the Atlatl, humans gained a new level of control over their environment, their prey, and even their own fate. The Atlatl was not just a tool to increase hunting efficiency, it represented a breakthrough in the evolution of human intelligence and the ability to manipulate the forces of nature. The core of this revolution lay in the way the Atlatl allowed humans to extend their physical reach, transforming their bodies into something far more capable than they had ever been before. With the Atlatl, the hunter's arm became a lever, capable of propelling a spear with far greater force and speed than could ever have been achieved through physical strength alone. This newfound ability changed the game for early humans, allowing them to hunt larger, more dangerous prey, from mammoths to bison, with far greater efficiency. The Atlatl's ability to increase range made hunting less hazardous, providing a safer distance between the hunter and the prey. For early humans, whose survival was precariously tied to the success of their hunts, this development was revolutionary. But the impact of the Atlatl went far beyond the immediate advantages it offered in terms of hunting. The tool allowed humans to redefine their relationship with animals, both as prey and as competitors. In a world where humans were often outmatched by the sheer size, strength, and speed of the animals they hunted, the Atlatl gave them a level of empowerment that they had never experienced before. By using the Atlatl, humans could engage in hunting with precision and power, striking at animals from a safe distance. The risk of injury or death was dramatically reduced, allowing early humans to focus on the strategy and execution of the hunt rather than merely surviving it. The ability to hunt more effectively also meant that early humans could begin to develop more sophisticated social structures. As the frequency and success of hunts increased, food became more abundant, allowing human groups to settle in one place for longer periods of time. In a nomadic lifestyle, food scarcity often dictated movement, forcing early human groups to roam in search of resources. But with the increased efficiency of hunting made possible by the Atlatl, the need for constant migration diminished. Communities could grow, settle, and develop more complex social dynamics. These changes laid the foundation for the rise of permanent settlements and the eventual emergence of agriculture. The control gained over nature through the Atlatl was mirrored by shifts in the social and cultural dynamics of human groups. As hunting became more efficient and effective, it also became a source of status and power. The ability to bring down large game with the Atlatl would have been a mark of skill and prestige. In many early societies, warriors or hunters who demonstrated expertise with the Atlatl would have been highly respected and honored. Their mastery of the tool would have set them apart, elevating them within their communities. This dynamic would have influenced the development of leadership structures, with the most skilled hunters likely becoming leaders or important figures within their groups. But the cultural impact of the Atlatl wasn't limited to its role in hunting and warfare. It also influenced the ways in which early humans conceptualized power and control. For the first time, humans had a tool that allowed them to strike with force from a distance. The Atlatl, in its most basic form, represented a new way of interacting with the world. It allowed humans to manipulate their environment in ways that were previously impossible. Early humans were no longer just reacting to the world around them, they were shaping it, using their intelligence and creativity to bend nature to their will. This shift in power dynamics had profound implications for the spiritual and symbolic life of early humans. The Atlatl, as a tool of both hunting and warfare, became a symbol of mastery, of the ability to control one's fate, to survive against all odds, and to dominate the forces of nature. Early humans often associated their tools, weapons, and hunting implements with spiritual significance, believing that these objects could carry power beyond the physical. The Atlatl, as a tool that allowed humans to transcend their natural limitations, would have been imbued with symbolic weight. It became not only a weapon of survival but also a tool for asserting human agency over the natural world. In many cultures, the act of hunting was intertwined with ritual, and the Atlatl would have played a central role in these ceremonies. The use of the Atlatl was not merely a physical act but a spiritual one as well. Hunters likely saw themselves as intermediaries between the material and spiritual realms, and the Atlatl served as a conduit for this connection. The tool, which enabled them to strike from a distance, was viewed as a means of invoking divine power or favor. It allowed them to overcome the forces of nature, to demonstrate mastery over the animals they hunted, and to assert their place in the larger cosmic order. The act of hunting with the Atlatl may have been seen as an expression of human dominance over the natural world. It was a way for early humans to prove their worth, to show that they could not only survive but thrive in the face of adversity. The Atlatl, in this context, was not just a tool for obtaining food, it was a tool for asserting control over life and death itself. This symbolism was likely reflected in the way the Atlatl was treated. Early humans may have adorned their Atlatls with carvings or markings, using the tool not only for practical purposes but also as an expression of their beliefs and values. The Atlatl's impact on early human societies extended beyond the individual. As the tool became more widely adopted, it played a role in the formation of social bonds and group cohesion. Hunting, once a solitary endeavor, became increasingly communal. Groups of humans working together with Atlatls could take down larger game, share the spoils, and form stronger social ties in the process. The success of a hunt became a collective achievement, and this sense of shared purpose would have contributed to the growth of cooperative societies. Over time, as human groups grew larger and more complex, the Atlatl may have become a symbol of unity, of the power of cooperation, and of the collective strength of the group. The development of social structures in early human groups was influenced by many factors, but the Atlatl played a pivotal role in shaping how these structures evolved. The tool allowed human societies to become more organized, more efficient, and more able to coordinate their efforts. As groups hunted together and shared their resources, they also began to develop systems of governance, trade, and communication. The Atlatl was at the heart of these early social systems, acting as both a symbol of power and a catalyst for change. The influence of the Atlatl also stretched into the realm of warfare. As humans began to engage in more frequent conflicts, the Atlatl became a primary weapon in battle. The ability to strike from a distance provided a distinct advantage over opponents armed only with short-range weapons. The Atlatl allowed warriors to maintain a safe distance from enemies while still dealing deadly blows. This tactical advantage revolutionized early combat and laid the groundwork for the development of more sophisticated forms of warfare. As the Atlatl spread across different cultures, it became a central component of military strategy, helping to shape the course of human conflict for centuries to come. Through the Atlatl, early humans experienced a shift in their relationship with the environment, their prey, and each other. The tool not only revolutionized hunting but also influenced the development of social, spiritual, and military systems. It allowed humans to extend their physical reach and assert control over their world, giving them a sense of power that would shape their development as a species. The Atlatl's impact on human history was profound, laying the foundation for the technological, social, and cultural advances that would follow. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, a tool that changed the course of history, and one that continues to echo through the story of humanity's rise to dominance. The Atlatl, despite its many practical applications in hunting and warfare, also played a crucial role in shaping the way early humans perceived their place in the world. It was not simply a tool for survival, it was a symbol of human ingenuity, mastery, and a testament to humanity's growing understanding of the physical world around them. With the Atlatl, humans could strike prey from a distance, not through brute strength, but through a combination of skill, strategy, and understanding of physics. This ability to extend the human arm, to throw a spear with greater force and precision, fundamentally altered the relationship between humans and the natural world. Early humans were no longer at the mercy of animals in the same way they had once been. Instead, they could shape the dynamics of the hunt, engaging prey on their terms rather than the prey's. This shift in power dynamics had profound implications for human development, not just in terms of survival but in the way early humans thought about the world and their place within it. Prior to the advent of the Atlatl, human hunters were constrained by their physical limitations. They had to get close to their prey, often putting themselves in danger, relying on their endurance, speed, and stealth. The introduction of the Atlatl removed some of those physical constraints, giving humans the ability to reach out and strike from a distance. This act of extension was not just a physical one but a symbolic gesture, an expression of human potential, and a reflection of the growing realization that humans could manipulate their environment in ways that other creatures could not. As humans began to wield the Atlatl with increasing proficiency, they also began to see the tool as more than just a functional object. It became imbued with meaning, a symbol of their growing power and control over the natural world. The ability to hunt larger and more dangerous animals, such as mammoths, bison, and other prehistoric megafauna, meant that humans were no longer simply surviving, they were thriving. This mastery over nature, facilitated by the Atlatl, allowed for a deeper connection to the environment, but it also marked the beginning of a shift in how humans interacted with the world around them. No longer solely dependent on their immediate surroundings for sustenance, humans could now begin to manipulate their environment, strategically managing resources and shaping ecosystems in ways that had never been possible before. The Atlatl was a symbol of that transformation. At the same time, the tool had a profound impact on the social structures of early human societies. With the success of hunting and the increased efficiency it brought, human groups could begin to establish more stable and permanent communities. Food could be acquired with greater consistency, and more resources could be gathered and stored. This allowed for the growth of settlements, which, in turn, led to the development of more complex social systems. The Atlatl, as a key element of the hunt, would have played a central role in shaping these societies. Those who were most skilled at using the Atlatl would have gained a higher status within their groups. They would have been seen not just as valuable hunters but as leaders, respected for their mastery of the tool and the success it brought to the group. The Atlatl, in this sense, was more than just a weapon, it was a status symbol, a mark of distinction, and a reflection of an individual's ability to command respect within the community. The development of more complex social structures, spurred by the Atlatl and its role in hunting, also paved the way for greater cooperation and specialization within human societies. As groups became more stable and organized, the division of labor became more pronounced. Some individuals may have specialized in crafting the Atlatls themselves, while others focused on hunting or gathering. The increased reliability of hunting, facilitated by the Atlatl, may have allowed for the rise of artisans, toolmakers, and other specialists. This division of labor further strengthened communities and enabled the development of more sophisticated technologies and cultural practices. The Atlatl, as an essential tool, played a central role in this transformation, marking the transition from small, nomadic groups to larger, more settled communities. The symbolic importance of the Atlatl went beyond its role in hunting and warfare. As human societies began to form, the Atlatl became intertwined with spiritual and religious beliefs. The idea that tools, weapons, and objects could carry spiritual significance was not unique to any single culture. Across the world, early humans imbued their tools with meaning, seeing them as extensions of their own strength, skill, and connection to the forces of nature. The Atlatl was no different. It was not just a tool used to hunt and fight, it was also an object that carried with it the power to connect humans to the supernatural. In many early cultures, hunting was seen as a sacred act, a ritual that involved not just the physical act of killing but also a spiritual connection to the animal and the land. The Atlatl, as the primary tool used in these hunts, became a symbol of this connection. Early humans likely saw the Atlatl as a gift from the gods or as an object that contained spiritual power. The tool was a means of gaining favor from the spirits, allowing hunters to take down prey more efficiently and safely. Rituals may have developed around the use of the Atlatl, with hunters performing specific ceremonies before heading out on a hunt. These rituals would have been designed to invoke divine protection, ensuring the success of the hunt and the safety of the hunters. The Atlatl, in this sense, was not merely a physical object but a conduit between the hunter and the spiritual world. The ritualistic use of the Atlatl would have been closely tied to the beliefs of early humans about life, death, and the natural world. In many cultures, the act of hunting was seen as a way of maintaining balance with the environment, of ensuring that humans could coexist with the animals they relied on for food. By using the Atlatl, early humans were not only asserting their dominance over the animals they hunted but also acknowledging the delicate balance of life and death in the natural world. The tool allowed them to hunt more efficiently, but it also required them to approach the act of hunting with respect and reverence. This sense of respect would have been reflected in the way the Atlatl was treated. In some cultures, the Atlatl may have been decorated with intricate carvings or symbols that reflected the spiritual beliefs of the people. The tool would have been seen as not just a weapon but a sacred object, one that connected the hunter to the land and the animals. Over time, the Atlatl may have become a symbol of power and prestige, a sign of an individual's connection to the divine forces that governed life and death. As human societies grew and became more complex, the role of the Atlatl in both hunting and warfare evolved. The tool became more refined, with different cultures adapting the design to suit their specific needs. In some regions, the Atlatl became an essential part of military strategy, allowing warriors to engage enemies from a distance with deadly accuracy. In others, it remained primarily a tool for hunting, but its symbolic importance only deepened. The Atlatl was not just a weapon, it was a tool that embodied the human struggle for survival, the quest for mastery over nature, and the spiritual connection between humans and the world around them. The legacy of the Atlatl, however, extends far beyond the prehistoric era. While the tool itself may have become obsolete with the advent of more advanced weapons, its influence can still be felt in the development of human technology and society. The Atlatl was one of the first tools that allowed humans to overcome their physical limitations and engage with the world in new ways. It opened the door to a new era of human innovation, one in which humans would continue to develop tools and technologies that extended their reach and power. In this sense, the Atlatl was a precursor to the countless inventions that would shape human history, from the wheel to the computer. The Atlatl's impact on human development cannot be overstated. It represented a breakthrough in human ingenuity, a moment when early humans took control of their environment in ways that were previously unimaginable. The Atlatl was not just a tool for hunting or warfare, it was a symbol of human creativity, adaptability, and the desire to master the natural world. It was a tool that enabled early humans to overcome their physical limitations, extend their range, and achieve feats that were once thought impossible. In many ways, the Atlatl laid the foundation for the technological advances that would follow, paving the way for the innovations that would define human history. The Atlatl was, in essence, the first step in humanity's long journey toward technological mastery and the conquest of the world around them. The Atlatl was not just a tool for hunting, it was a catalyst for a fundamental shift in the way early humans interacted with the natural world. Prior to its invention, human survival was intricately tied to the immediate physical environment, relying on close proximity to prey and dangerous encounters during the hunt. With the Atlatl, humans gained a powerful new advantage, the ability to strike from a distance with accuracy and force. This shift not only transformed hunting practices but also altered the very dynamics of human existence, allowing for a deeper engagement with nature and laying the groundwork for the rise of civilization. The Atlatl allowed humans to reach further, to extend their physical abilities beyond what nature had granted them. Through a simple yet ingenious design, it acted as an extension of the human arm, turning the force of the hunter's throw into a much more powerful and far-reaching projectile. This not only improved hunting efficiency but also enabled humans to take on larger and more dangerous animals. For example, animals like bison or mammoths, which would have once been formidable opponents in close combat, could now be attacked from a safe distance. This increased range reduced the physical risks associated with hunting and, more importantly, enhanced the effectiveness of early human groups in securing food and resources. As human groups became more proficient with the Atlatl, hunting evolved from an arduous, often perilous activity into a more organized and efficient endeavor. The risk of injury and death decreased as hunters could now strike from afar, giving them the ability to target animals more accurately and efficiently. The advantage of distance meant that the success rate of hunts could improve significantly, leading to an increase in available food. This newfound stability in food supply had ripple effects on early human societies, enabling them to settle in one location for longer periods and develop more permanent forms of social organization. This shift towards sedentism and stability had profound implications for human development. As food became more reliable, humans could begin to invest time and energy into activities beyond mere survival. With the stability brought on by increased hunting efficiency, early humans could focus on socialization, the development of culture, and the building of stronger communal ties. Permanent settlements began to form, and with these settlements came the need for more sophisticated systems of governance, trade, and communication. The Atlatl, indirectly, played a role in this transformation by providing the security necessary for more complex social structures to emerge. While the Atlatl provided immediate benefits in terms of hunting and warfare, its implications extended far beyond these realms. As human societies grew more complex, the Atlatl became a tool of symbolism, signifying the evolving relationship between humans and nature, as well as between humans themselves. The act of hunting with such a tool became something more than just a means of obtaining food, it was an act of empowerment. It was a way for humans to assert control over their environment, shaping it in ways that had previously been impossible. Early humans were no longer just at the mercy of nature, they were beginning to see themselves as active participants in the shaping of the world around them. The Atlatl gave them the means to control their circumstances, transforming them from mere survivors to capable agents of change. In many ways, the Atlatl represented a symbolic victory over nature. It was a tool that enabled humans to control the forces that had once dictated their lives. By using the Atlatl, early humans could hunt with more precision and less danger, allowing them to take on large prey that would have otherwise been out of reach. This was not just a technical improvement, it was a profound shift in how early humans saw themselves in relation to the world. The Atlatl allowed humans to transcend their biological limitations, extending the reach of their bodies and minds to manipulate their environment. This shift in human perception would have far-reaching implications, influencing everything from social structures to spiritual beliefs. The spiritual significance of the Atlatl is something that cannot be overlooked. In many ancient cultures, tools were not just seen as instruments of survival, but as objects imbued with spiritual power. The Atlatl, as a tool that allowed humans to master the forces of nature, would likely have been viewed as a conduit between the human and the divine. Early humans often viewed hunting as a sacred act, one that required respect for the animals they pursued. The Atlatl, as a tool central to the hunt, became more than just a practical object. It was a symbol of the hunter's connection to the spiritual world. In some cultures, the Atlatl was likely treated with reverence, perhaps even regarded as a sacred object. Hunters may have performed rituals before using it, invoking the gods or spirits of the land to ensure a successful hunt. The act of throwing a spear with an Atlatl would have been imbued with a sense of ritual and meaning, as it was not just a physical act but a symbolic one. The distance between the hunter and the prey, created by the Atlatl, was a metaphor for the separation between the human and the natural world. It represented the hunter's mastery over nature, a demonstration of human control over forces that once seemed insurmountable. This symbolic relationship between humans and the Atlatl would have influenced early human cultures in profound ways. In some societies, the Atlatl may have been passed down through generations, not only as a practical tool but as a cultural artifact, laden with the weight of ancestral knowledge and spiritual significance. As such, the Atlatl became a link between the past and the present, a way for early humans to honor their ancestors and the gods who had helped them secure their place in the world. The continued use and refinement of the Atlatl would have reinforced these cultural beliefs, ensuring that the tool remained central to the identity of many early human societies. The Atlatl also had a major influence on early warfare, as it allowed humans to engage in combat from a distance. While close-quarters combat would remain a part of early warfare for centuries, the Atlatl introduced a new element of strategy: distance. Warriors armed with Atlatls could attack their enemies from a much greater range, avoiding direct physical confrontation while still inflicting damage. This ability to strike from a distance would have had significant implications for the tactics employed in battle, allowing armies to fight with greater precision and coordination. It also changed the very nature of warfare itself, shifting it from a test of physical strength to one that valued skill, strategy, and the effective use of technology. In this way, the Atlatl not only transformed hunting and warfare but also had a lasting impact on the development of early human technology. It was one of the first tools to demonstrate the potential for technology to extend human capability beyond the limitations of the body. The ability to throw a spear with greater force and range was a significant step forward in the evolution of human tools, marking the beginning of a long history of technological innovation that would shape human civilization for millennia to come. While the Atlatl may have been replaced by more advanced weapons over time, its legacy endured. The fundamental concept of using tools to extend human capability remained a key driver of technological progress, from the invention of the bow and arrow to the development of firearms and beyond. The Atlatl was, in many ways, the precursor to the more sophisticated weapons that would later shape the course of history. It was an early demonstration of the potential for tools to revolutionize the way humans interacted with the world and one another. As the Atlatl spread across different cultures, its design and use evolved to meet the specific needs of the environment. Different materials, such as wood, bone, and antler, were used to craft the tool, and various cultures adapted it to suit their unique hunting strategies. While the Atlatl may have had different forms and styles depending on the region, its core function remained the same: to extend the range and effectiveness of the spear. This adaptability is one of the reasons the Atlatl was so successful, as it could be tailored to the needs of various environments, from the forests of Europe to the plains of North America. The impact of the Atlatl was far-reaching, shaping not just the physical world of early humans but also their cultural, spiritual, and social lives. It allowed for a deeper connection to the natural world, facilitated the growth of more complex societies, and influenced the development of early technology and warfare. The Atlatl, as a tool and symbol, was a pivotal moment in human history, marking the beginning of a new era in which humans were no longer passive participants in nature but active agents capable of shaping their own destiny. The influence of the Atlatl was not confined solely to the realms of hunting and warfare. Its profound impact extended deeply into the social, cultural, and even technological evolution of early human societies. As a tool that allowed humans to transcend their physical limitations and manipulate the forces of nature, the Atlatl altered the very fabric of human existence. What had once been a simple survival mechanism became a powerful symbol of human mastery over the natural world, and in doing so, it reshaped the course of human development in ways that were far-reaching and transformative. At its core, the Atlatl represented an extension of human capability, a tool that allowed individuals to perform tasks that would have been impossible without it. By enabling humans to throw projectiles with greater force, speed, and accuracy than they could with their bare hands, the Atlatl radically changed the dynamics of the hunt. It gave humans the power to engage with much larger and more dangerous prey, from mammoths to bison, without placing themselves in immediate danger. This shift in hunting dynamics had far-reaching consequences, not just for the success of individual hunts but for the survival and development of entire groups. As hunting became more efficient and predictable with the use of the Atlatl, human groups began to experience a more stable food supply. This newfound reliability allowed early humans to establish more permanent settlements, moving away from the nomadic lifestyles that had once been necessary for survival. No longer in constant search of food, humans could settle in one place, creating more complex social and cultural structures. The Atlatl, in its own way, acted as a catalyst for this transformation, providing the security and stability needed for the rise of agriculture, permanent settlements, and the eventual development of urban societies. The increased stability provided by more successful hunts allowed early human communities to focus their attention on other aspects of life. With food becoming more abundant and less reliant on constant movement, humans had the luxury of developing other skills and technologies. Specialized roles within these societies began to emerge, as individuals could now focus on tasks beyond basic survival. Some became skilled artisans, crafting more advanced tools and weapons, while others engaged in trade, communication, and governance. This division of labor, facilitated by the Atlatl's ability to provide more consistent food sources, allowed for greater cooperation within groups and the formation of more complex social structures. The social and cultural importance of the Atlatl also cannot be overstated. As hunting became a more efficient and less perilous endeavor, it became a central part of the identity of many early human societies. In these communities, the act of hunting was often more than just a means of survival, it was a rite of passage, a cultural tradition, and even a spiritual practice. The Atlatl, as the primary tool used in hunting, became imbued with symbolic significance. It was not just a tool to be used for killing animals, it was a means of asserting control over the natural world, a demonstration of human agency, and an expression of mastery over life and death itself. The symbolic significance of the Atlatl likely extended beyond its immediate function as a hunting tool. In many early human societies, tools and weapons were often seen as extensions of human will, objects that carried spiritual power. The Atlatl, as a tool that enabled humans to conquer and control the forces of nature, would have been viewed as a conduit to the divine. It allowed hunters to transcend their physical limitations and connect to a higher power, a force that governed not just the hunt but the very fabric of life itself. In this way, the Atlatl became more than just a means of survival, it became a symbol of human power and connection to the spiritual world. As the use of the Atlatl spread across different cultures, it likely took on different forms and meanings, adapted to the unique cultural and environmental contexts of each society. In some cultures, the Atlatl may have been highly decorated, adorned with intricate carvings, etchings, or symbolic motifs that reflected the beliefs and values of the people. These decorations were not just aesthetic, they were expressions of the hunter's relationship with the tool, with nature, and with the divine. The Atlatl, in this sense, was both a functional object and a deeply spiritual one, a reflection of the belief that humans could, through their ingenuity and connection to the spiritual realm, control their environment and fate. The use of the Atlatl also had a profound impact on early warfare. While early human combat was typically characterized by close-quarters fighting, the Atlatl introduced a new element of strategy: distance. Warriors armed with the Atlatl could now strike from afar, maintaining a safe distance from their enemies while still inflicting damage. This tactical advantage allowed for a new kind of warfare, one that relied not just on physical strength but on skill, precision, and the effective use of technology. The Atlatl made it possible to engage in combat with greater accuracy and less risk, allowing warriors to soften up an enemy before direct confrontation. This ability to engage from a distance would have been a game-changer in early human conflicts, marking a shift away from traditional forms of combat toward more strategic, technologically enhanced warfare. In many ways, the Atlatl can be seen as the first major technological leap in the history of warfare. It marked the transition from hand-to-hand combat to a more sophisticated form of battle that involved ranged weapons. This evolution in combat technology would have had far-reaching consequences, influencing the development of future weapons and strategies in human history. The Atlatl's design and function laid the groundwork for the later development of the bow and arrow, the spear, and even the gun. Its influence can still be seen in modern warfare, where the ability to strike from a distance remains a key component of military strategy. But the Atlatl was not just a tool of war, it was a tool of social cohesion. As humans began to develop more complex social structures, the Atlatl played a role in the formation of group identity. Hunting, which had once been a solitary activity, became increasingly communal as humans worked together to bring down larger prey. Groups of hunters would have coordinated their efforts, using the Atlatl to strike prey from a safe distance and share in the spoils of the hunt. This cooperation fostered a sense of unity and shared purpose, helping to strengthen bonds between individuals and contributing to the rise of larger, more organized communities. The Atlatl's role in warfare and hunting also contributed to the development of leadership structures within early human societies. As individuals became more skilled with the Atlatl, they would have been recognized for their expertise and their ability to lead successful hunts or battles. Those who mastered the Atlatl would have gained status and respect, and their skill would have made them valuable members of their communities. The Atlatl, in this sense, became a symbol of leadership, and mastery of it could have conferred social power on the individual. Over time, the Atlatl was gradually replaced by more advanced weapons, such as the bow and arrow, as technological innovation continued to progress. However, its impact on human history cannot be overstated. The Atlatl was one of the first tools to demonstrate the potential of human ingenuity to overcome physical limitations and manipulate the forces of nature. It marked the beginning of a new era in which humans could engage with their environment in ways that were previously impossible. The Atlatl was a precursor to the many technological advancements that would follow, from the development of more sophisticated weapons to the eventual rise of industrial technology. The influence of the Atlatl extended beyond its immediate use in hunting and warfare. It played a crucial role in shaping early human societies, contributing to the rise of permanent settlements, the development of social and cultural structures, and the evolution of warfare. The Atlatl was not just a tool, it was a symbol of human mastery over the natural world, a testament to the creative power of early humans, and a reflection of the deep spiritual connection between humans and the environment. As early humans used the Atlatl to shape their world, they also shaped their future, laying the foundations for the complex civilizations that would eventually emerge. The Atlatl, by its very nature, embodies a remarkable convergence of simplicity and complexity. Its design, though seemingly straightforward, a spear-throwing tool that extended the range and power of the human arm, had an intricate impact on the trajectory of human evolution. Through its function, it transformed not just the way early humans hunted, but the way they interacted with the environment, the way they formed social bonds, and the way they viewed themselves in relation to the natural world. The Atlatl played an outsized role in reshaping the human experience, far beyond its immediate practical use. By enabling humans to hunt larger prey from a distance, it gave them a sense of control and mastery over their surroundings, a level of power that was previously unimaginable. Before the advent of the Atlatl, humans were hunters and gatherers who relied on their physical abilities, agility, and strength to hunt prey. The dangers of the hunt were ever present, as hunters often had to engage in close combat with their quarry, risking injury or death with every chase. But with the invention of the Atlatl, this dynamic began to shift. The Atlatl was not just a tool to increase the efficiency of hunting, it was a tool that allowed humans to distance themselves from the dangers of the hunt and, in doing so, change the nature of their relationship with the animals they pursued. The ability to launch a spear with incredible force and precision from a distance allowed humans to hunt larger and more dangerous animals, such as bison and mammoths, with greater safety. No longer did hunters need to close the gap and risk a close-range confrontation. The Atlatl empowered early humans to strike from afar, often with deadly accuracy, which not only made the hunt less dangerous but also more effective. In many ways, the Atlatl marked the beginning of a new era of human capability. For the first time, humans were able to transcend the physical limitations of their bodies, enabling them to reach further, throw harder, and strike with precision. This newfound ability to engage with the natural world in a more controlled and effective manner helped to elevate humans in the food chain, shifting them from vulnerable prey to apex predators. The Atlatl was a symbol of this transition, a tool that marked the beginning of humanity's dominance over other species, enabling early humans to carve out their survival with increasing efficiency. It was not simply the physical tool itself, but the profound shift in human mindset that came with it, the recognition that humans could manipulate their environment to their advantage. As hunting practices changed, so too did the social structures of early human communities. The increase in hunting success brought on by the Atlatl meant that food became more plentiful and predictable. With a more reliable food source, human groups were able to settle in one location for longer periods, allowing for the development of more permanent settlements. These stable communities laid the foundation for the rise of agriculture, the development of social roles, and the division of labor. Humans could now focus their energies on pursuits beyond mere survival, engaging in activities like crafting, art, trade, and governance. The Atlatl thus served as an unwitting catalyst for the rise of civilization, providing the security and stability necessary for more complex forms of social organization to emerge. This newfound stability also allowed for the development of specialization within early human societies. While hunting was still a central part of daily life, the increased success of hunts enabled some individuals to specialize in the creation of atlatls or other tools, while others focused on gathering, trading, or forming larger, more structured communities. This specialization led to the rise of artisans, leaders, and other key figures within early societies. The Atlatl, as an essential tool, was central to the functioning of these communities. Those who mastered the Atlatl gained status and respect within their group, and their skill often translated into leadership roles, making the tool an important social marker. As the Atlatl was used and perfected, it became a symbol of both personal and communal success, representing the power that humans had gained over their environment. While the Atlatl's impact on hunting and social organization was profound, its influence extended even further, touching on the spiritual and symbolic dimensions of human life. Early humans, living in close connection with nature, saw their survival as a reflection of their relationship with the world around them. The Atlatl, in this context, was more than just a physical tool, it was a conduit for the human spirit, a means of connecting with the forces of nature and the supernatural. In many early cultures, hunting was seen as a sacred act, one that required not only physical skill but also spiritual preparation. The Atlatl, as a key component of the hunt, would have been imbued with deep symbolic meaning. It was a tool that enabled hunters to assert their will over nature, to control the forces that governed life and death. The spiritual significance of the Atlatl may have manifested in various ways across different cultures. Some cultures may have seen the Atlatl as a gift from the gods, a divine tool that granted hunters the ability to control their fate. Others may have believed that the tool itself possessed spiritual power, that it was imbued with the essence of the hunter's connection to the natural world. The act of hunting with the Atlatl could have been seen as a form of communion with the divine, a way to seek favor from the spirits in exchange for successful hunts and a steady food supply. Rituals and ceremonies surrounding the use of the Atlatl would have been common, with hunters performing specific rites before embarking on a hunt to ensure their success and the favor of the gods. In some cultures, the Atlatl was likely decorated with carvings, symbols, or markings that reflected the beliefs and spiritual values of the people. These markings were not simply aesthetic, they were expressions of the deep connection between the hunter and the tool and the natural world, and the hunter and the divine forces that governed life and death. The Atlatl, therefore, became not just an instrument of survival but an object that carried cultural and spiritual weight, marking it as a central part of early human identity. The Atlatl's role in warfare, too, was influenced by these same cultural and spiritual beliefs. As early humans began to engage in more frequent and complex conflicts, the Atlatl evolved into a tool of war. The ability to strike from a distance gave warriors a significant advantage, allowing them to maintain a safe distance from their enemies while still delivering powerful, precise blows. This shift in warfare, away from hand-to-hand combat and toward ranged weapons, marked a crucial turning point in human history, as it changed the way humans engaged in violence and conflict. The Atlatl, once a symbol of mastery over the natural world, now became a tool of human domination over one another. The transition from hunting to warfare represented a new phase in the evolution of the Atlatl, one that would influence military strategies for millennia to come. Despite its importance in hunting, warfare, and social structures, the Atlatl's impact was ultimately shaped by the way it was passed down through generations. As human societies grew more complex, the Atlatl became an object of cultural continuity, passed from one generation to the next as both a practical tool and a cultural artifact. The skill of using the Atlatl was learned from elders and passed down to the younger members of the community. In this way, the Atlatl became not just a tool of survival but a means of preserving and transmitting cultural knowledge. It connected the past with the present, linking individuals to their ancestors and the wisdom they had accumulated over generations. In many ways, the Atlatl represented the first steps toward humanity's larger journey of technological and cultural innovation. It was a tool that allowed early humans to transcend their physical limitations and engage with the world in new ways. It marked the beginning of an era in which humans could manipulate their environment, overcome obstacles, and shape their destiny through technology. This era, sparked by the invention of the Atlatl, laid the foundation for all the technological advancements that would follow, from the development of agriculture and metallurgy to the rise of complex civilizations. The Atlatl was one of the earliest tools that showed humans could harness the forces of nature to their advantage, and that knowledge would continue to fuel humanity's progress for centuries. As the Atlatl gradually gave way to more advanced weaponry, its legacy endured. The fundamental principles it embodied, mastery over nature, the extension of human abilities through technology, and the development of social, cultural, and spiritual practices, remained central to the human experience. The Atlatl marked a pivotal moment in the history of humanity, one that signaled the beginning of a new era in which humans were no longer passive participants in their environment but active agents of change. Through the Atlatl, early humans learned that with the right tools, they could not only survive but thrive, shaping the course of history in ways that would reverberate for millennia to come. The Atlatl represents a significant moment in the evolutionary story of human technology, a moment when humans, for the first time, demonstrated their ability to extend beyond their inherent physical limitations. In a way, it was the first real technology that allowed humanity to assert a form of control over the natural world. Prior to its development, humans had to rely on their own bodies for hunting, which inherently limited their effectiveness, particularly when facing larger and more dangerous prey. The Atlatl, with its ability to launch a spear with greater force and precision, changed everything. No longer confined to the strength of the human arm alone, early humans could now achieve greater force, range, and accuracy in their hunting techniques. This represented not only a technical innovation but also a philosophical shift in how humans viewed themselves in relation to the world. What the Atlatl offered was the ability to overcome physical boundaries. Where early humans had once been at the mercy of their own muscular limits and endurance, the Atlatl enabled them to manipulate objects with far greater force than their bodies alone could provide. Through the Atlatl, humans discovered that technology could become an extension of the body itself, something that could amplify natural abilities and transcend the barriers of the human form. This realization opened the door to further technological advancements, showing humans that they could, through ingenuity, extend their reach and influence over the world around them. But beyond its immediate physical advantages, the Atlatl offered a new perspective on the act of hunting itself. Prior to the Atlatl, hunting was a direct confrontation between human and animal, often requiring close proximity, dangerous chases, and considerable risk. The Atlatl introduced a level of distance to the hunt, both literally and metaphorically. The hunter no longer had to be in close contact with the animal to strike, they could engage prey from a safer distance, with less risk to themselves. This shift changed the relationship between hunter and prey, emphasizing skill and strategy over sheer physical prowess. It suggested a deeper understanding of the environment and an ability to manipulate it in ways that were previously unimaginable. This new dynamic also had profound implications for the psychological and social aspects of early human life. As hunting became more efficient and predictable, human groups began to experience a level of stability and reliability that they had not known before. The ability to hunt larger prey with greater success meant that food could be secured with greater consistency, reducing the uncertainty and unpredictability that had long characterized the lives of early humans. With a more dependable food source, the pressure to constantly forage and migrate diminished, allowing human societies to settle in one place for longer periods. This stability set the stage for the development of more complex social structures. With the increased availability of food, early humans began to form permanent settlements. These settlements brought about new social dynamics, as individuals no longer needed to live as mobile hunter-gatherers. People could now engage in activities beyond survival, such as creating art, developing tools, and engaging in trade. As human groups grew in size and complexity, so too did the need for organization and cooperation. The Atlatl, in many ways, played a key role in this transformation. By providing a means of obtaining food more efficiently, it allowed for the establishment of larger, more permanent communities. These communities could then invest their energies into activities that went beyond hunting, thus enabling the rise of culture, art, and technology. The increased stability and social cohesion that arose from the Atlatl's impact on hunting also contributed to the emergence of leadership and social hierarchies. As human groups grew larger and more complex, some individuals would have emerged as leaders or experts in specific areas, such as toolmaking, hunting, or governance. Those who were most skilled in using the Atlatl would have gained status within their communities, as their abilities to secure food and protect the group made them valuable. This social stratification would have been one of the early forms of leadership and power structures, which became increasingly important as societies continued to grow and evolve. As the Atlatl allowed early humans to become more adept hunters, it also created new opportunities for specialization. While the core purpose of the tool was to improve hunting efficiency, its impact was far-reaching. Communities could now support people whose primary role was not directly related to hunting. Some individuals might have focused on crafting better Atlatls, refining their designs for greater accuracy and effectiveness. Others could have devoted themselves to gathering resources or engaging in trade with neighboring groups. This division of labor, driven by the efficiency of the Atlatl, was one of the building blocks of early social structures and a precursor to the development of complex economies and political systems. But the influence of the Atlatl was not confined to the mundane practicalities of survival and social organization. As with many technological advancements, the Atlatl also began to acquire cultural and spiritual significance. In many ancient societies, tools and weapons were not merely seen as functional objects but as objects of deep symbolic meaning. The Atlatl, as a key component of the hunt, would have become associated with powerful spiritual beliefs and practices. Hunting itself was often viewed as a sacred act, one that required respect for the animals that provided sustenance and a connection to the divine forces that governed the natural world. The Atlatl, as the tool that enabled successful hunts, likely came to symbolize not just human mastery over nature but a deeper, spiritual connection between the hunter and the gods. The Atlatl's spiritual significance may have manifested in several ways. In some cultures, it could have been regarded as a gift from the gods, a sacred tool that enabled humans to engage with the divine forces that controlled life and death. In others, the Atlatl itself may have been seen as imbued with spiritual power. The act of hunting with it would have been a ritualistic experience, one in which the hunter sought not just physical success but spiritual favor. Early humans may have engaged in ceremonies before using the Atlatl, invoking the gods for protection, success, and the continuation of the food supply. The Atlatl's symbolic importance likely grew over time, as it was passed down through generations. Its design, craftsmanship, and use became cultural markers that connected the present to the past. Older, well-made Atlatls might have been kept as heirlooms or revered as sacred objects, passed down to younger generations as both practical tools and spiritual symbols. As such, the Atlatl helped maintain continuity in early societies, linking the current generation to their ancestors and the traditions they had established. The tool's role in hunting also made it central to the broader spiritual and cultural practices surrounding the hunt. Many early societies viewed hunting as not just an economic activity but as an act of communion with the animal world. The Atlatl, as an essential tool in this process, was intimately connected to these beliefs. It was not just a weapon for survival, it was a means of ensuring balance with nature, a way of participating in a cycle of life and death that was governed by divine or spiritual laws. The Atlatl thus came to represent both the power of humanity and its relationship to the natural world, a relationship that was at once hierarchical and interconnected. As the use of the Atlatl spread across different cultures, its design evolved. Different regions and peoples adapted the tool to suit their unique environments and needs. Some cultures might have used it primarily for hunting large game, while others could have refined it for use in combat. Over time, the Atlatl's influence extended beyond just hunting and warfare. It became embedded in the cultural fabric of early societies, shaping not only how people interacted with the world but how they viewed themselves. The Atlatl gave humans a new way of seeing their place in the world, not as passive creatures at the mercy of nature, but as active agents capable of shaping their environment. The Atlatl's influence on human history cannot be understated. While it may have been supplanted by more advanced technologies over time, it laid the foundation for the development of tools and weapons that would shape human civilization for millennia to come. The principles of leverage, force, and distance that the Atlatl exemplified were the building blocks of more advanced weapons like the bow and arrow and, eventually, firearms. But beyond its practical use, the Atlatl also left an indelible mark on human culture, spirituality, and social organization. It was a tool that empowered early humans to transcend their physical limitations and engage with the world in new ways. It demonstrated that technology could extend human capabilities and, in doing so, changed the course of human history. The legacy of the Atlatl lives on in many of the technological advancements that followed, but its impact went far beyond the physical realm. It symbolized the capacity of human beings to adapt, innovate, and master their environment. Through the Atlatl, early humans discovered that they were not merely creatures of instinct and survival, they were also creators, capable of shaping their world through intelligence and innovation. This insight would drive human progress for centuries to come, and the Atlatl would remain, in many ways, the first step in a journey that would lead to the development of the remarkable technological world we inhabit today. The Atlatl was more than just an innovation in hunting technology, it represented a profound shift in how early humans perceived their relationship with the natural world. At its most basic level, it allowed humans to do what they had done for millennia, hunt for food, but it did so with a level of efficiency and precision that fundamentally changed the dynamics of survival. Before the Atlatl, humans had to rely on close combat with animals, often putting themselves in immediate danger. With the Atlatl, however, they could engage prey from a distance, using force and skill to strike with deadly accuracy. This new way of hunting altered not just the act of hunting itself but also the very fabric of human existence, influencing social structures, technology, warfare, and even spiritual beliefs. The physical implications of the Atlatl's invention were immediate and profound. It allowed humans to take on larger and more dangerous prey, mammoths, bison, and other formidable animals, without putting themselves in close proximity to them. Prior to the Atlatl, humans had to rely on their physical strength, agility, and weapons like clubs or spears, which required them to get dangerously close to their prey. The Atlatl changed that by extending the reach of the human arm, turning the spear into a projectile that could be thrown with more force and accuracy than ever before. This shift from hand-to-hand hunting to ranged hunting fundamentally changed the nature of human-animal interactions, making it possible for humans to hunt large prey with greater success and less risk. In the context of early human survival, this innovation allowed humans to secure food more consistently and efficiently. Hunting, which had once been an unpredictable and dangerous endeavor, became a more controlled activity. The ability to hunt from a distance not only made hunting safer but also allowed for more coordinated group efforts. Humans could now engage in group hunts, with individuals working together to bring down larger animals with the aid of the Atlatl. This teamwork would have strengthened social bonds and fostered a sense of cooperation and trust within early human groups. It also contributed to the development of specialized roles, as some individuals might have focused on crafting Atlatls or other tools, while others could have become expert hunters, using the technology to its fullest potential. As humans became more adept at hunting with the Atlatl, their lives began to change in other, more profound ways. A stable and more predictable food supply allowed humans to settle in one location for longer periods. Prior to the Atlatl, humans were primarily nomadic, constantly moving in search of food. But with more reliable hunting, early humans could establish more permanent settlements. These settlements created the conditions for the development of more complex social structures. People could now focus on activities beyond survival: crafting, art, communication, trade, and even the beginnings of governance. The Atlatl, by providing a more secure food source, helped pave the way for these societal advancements. The stability provided by the Atlatl also had a major impact on the development of social hierarchies. As hunting became more efficient, those who were particularly skilled in using the Atlatl would have gained status within their communities. Mastery of the Atlatl was likely seen as a mark of leadership, and those who excelled at it would have become respected members of their groups. Over time, this division of labor and the recognition of skill would have led to the emergence of more structured social systems. Leaders, elders, and specialists would have been recognized for their expertise, while others might have been assigned roles based on their ability to contribute to the group's survival and prosperity. This division of labor had important consequences for the development of early human societies. As human groups became more specialized, they could invest in activities beyond survival, which led to the growth of culture, technology, and art. The Atlatl, by making hunting more predictable and less dangerous, allowed early humans to focus on other forms of expression and invention. Toolmaking, pottery, and the creation of art all became possible as humans had more time and resources to devote to these pursuits. In this way, the Atlatl acted as a catalyst for the development of civilization, providing the security and stability that allowed for the emergence of complex societies. At the same time, the Atlatl had an even deeper cultural and spiritual significance. Early human societies did not view tools merely as functional objects, they imbued them with meaning and symbolism. The Atlatl, as the primary tool of the hunt, would have taken on special importance. It was no longer just an object used to bring down animals, it was a symbol of human mastery over nature, an extension of the hunter's will and power. The act of hunting with the Atlatl may have been considered a spiritual practice, one in which humans sought to connect with the divine forces that governed the natural world. The tool itself may have been seen as a sacred object, imbued with spiritual power. In some cultures, it may have been treated with reverence, possibly even used in rituals before hunts to invoke the favor of the gods. In many early cultures, hunting was not merely a practical activity, it was a spiritual and symbolic act. The Atlatl, as an essential component of the hunt, became associated with these deeper meanings. Early humans may have seen the tool as a bridge between the human and the divine, a means of connecting with the spiritual forces that governed life and death. Rituals surrounding the use of the Atlatl would have been common. Hunters may have prayed for a successful hunt or performed ceremonies to honor the animals they sought to kill. In this sense, the Atlatl was more than just a means of securing food, it was a conduit through which early humans could engage with the spiritual world. The Atlatl's significance in early human societies went beyond its practical use, it became a symbol of human agency and power. In many ways, the Atlatl represented humanity's ability to control its environment. Where early humans had once been vulnerable to the dangers of the hunt, the Atlatl allowed them to turn the tables, giving them the power to strike from a distance and avoid physical confrontation. This shift in the dynamics of hunting and warfare signified a broader transformation in how humans saw themselves. The Atlatl allowed them to transcend their natural limitations and harness the forces of nature for their own benefit. It became a symbol of human mastery over the natural world and a reflection of the growing human capacity to shape the environment to their advantage. Over time, the use of the Atlatl spread across different regions and cultures, each adapting it to their unique needs and environments. The basic principle behind the Atlatl remained the same, to increase the range and power of the spear. But its design, materials, and methods of use varied widely. Some cultures may have used the Atlatl primarily for hunting large game, while others may have refined it for use in warfare. As the tool evolved, so too did its cultural significance. It became not just a means of survival but a cultural artifact, passed down through generations as a symbol of strength, ingenuity, and connection to the past. The Atlatl also had a profound impact on early human warfare. While early human combat was typically characterized by close-quarters fighting, the Atlatl introduced the concept of distance into warfare. Soldiers armed with Atlatls could strike their enemies from a safe distance, avoiding direct physical confrontation while still inflicting damage. This shift in tactics revolutionized early warfare, allowing for more strategic approaches to conflict. The Atlatl made it possible to engage in combat with greater precision and less risk, setting the stage for the development of more sophisticated weapons in the future. In this way, the Atlatl bridged the gap between hunting and warfare, contributing to the development of military technologies that would shape human history for millennia to come. In the long run, the Atlatl's legacy extended far beyond its immediate impact on early hunting and warfare. The fundamental concept behind the Atlatl, the extension of human capability through technology, became a guiding principle in human innovation. While the Atlatl itself was eventually replaced by more advanced weapons, its basic function of amplifying human strength and reach remained central to the development of future technologies. The Atlatl showed early humans that they could harness tools to overcome their limitations, and this realization would drive technological progress for centuries to come. In many ways, the Atlatl was the first step in a long history of human technological innovation. It was the first tool that truly extended the body's capabilities, making it possible for humans to hunt with greater efficiency, strike from a distance, and protect themselves more effectively. Through the Atlatl, early humans learned that technology could be more than just a means of survival, it could be a means of transformation, allowing them to shape their world and their fate. This lesson would continue to echo throughout history, as humans developed increasingly sophisticated technologies to further their mastery over the natural world. The Atlatl was not just a technological advance, it was a cultural one. It marked a profound shift in how humans viewed themselves, their environment, and their place in the world. The ability to overcome physical limitations and engage with nature from a distance empowered early humans to see themselves not as passive participants in the world but as active agents capable of shaping their reality. The Atlatl became a symbol of human agency, a reflection of humanity's growing understanding that with the right tools, they could not only survive but thrive. Through the Atlatl, early humans demonstrated their potential to innovate, adapt, and transcend the natural world, laying the foundation for the remarkable achievements that would follow. The invention and widespread use of the Atlatl marked a transformative shift in early human history, one that had long-lasting effects on both the practical aspects of daily life and the philosophical outlook of human societies. Before the Atlatl, early humans had relied primarily on their physical strength and agility to hunt animals, often coming into close contact with their prey in the process. This not only exposed hunters to great risk but also limited their ability to tackle larger, more dangerous animals. The Atlatl, however, introduced an entirely new dynamic. It allowed humans to hunt from a distance, enhancing their power and accuracy in ways that were previously unimaginable. In doing so, it not only altered the way humans hunted but also redefined the relationship between humans and the natural world. This shift from close-range hunting to ranged hunting was more than just a technical advancement, it represented a fundamental change in how humans interacted with the environment. Early humans, previously dependent on their physical abilities to survive, now had the means to manipulate nature more effectively. With the Atlatl, humans could strike down large prey with far greater force and precision, often from a safe distance. This meant that they could hunt large animals, like mammoths or bison, with less risk to their own lives. The Atlatl provided humans with an unprecedented ability to control the environment around them, allowing them to assert their dominance over nature in ways that would have been impossible before. The impact of the Atlatl on human survival was immediate. With greater efficiency in hunting, humans could secure a more reliable and consistent food supply. This had profound implications for the structure of human society. No longer did humans need to be constantly on the move, chasing prey across vast expanses of land. The increased success of hunts meant that groups could settle in one place for longer periods, which in turn led to the formation of permanent settlements. These stable communities allowed early humans to focus their energy on activities beyond mere survival, crafting, art, and even social organization. In this way, the Atlatl indirectly fostered the development of early civilization, providing the stability necessary for more complex forms of human society to emerge. As humans began to settle into permanent communities, they were able to devote more time to activities like building, creating, and trading. The increased stability provided by the Atlatl's impact on hunting gave rise to the development of specialized roles within these communities. Some individuals could focus on tool-making, developing better and more efficient tools for hunting, while others could specialize in gathering resources, creating art, or trading with neighboring groups. This division of labor was a direct result of the more stable food supply made possible by the Atlatl. By allowing humans to hunt more efficiently and reliably, the Atlatl played a key role in the establishment of these early social and economic systems. At the same time, the Atlatl also had a profound impact on the way humans thought about their place in the world. Early human societies were often closely connected to the natural environment, and survival depended on maintaining a delicate balance with the forces of nature. Hunting, in particular, was seen as a spiritual act, a means of connecting with the divine forces that governed life and death. The Atlatl, as a central tool of the hunt, would have taken on deep symbolic significance in many cultures. It was not just a tool for killing, it was a tool that allowed humans to assert their will over nature, to control the forces that governed their survival. The Atlatl represented not just physical power, but a deeper, spiritual connection to the world. In some cultures, the Atlatl may have been considered a gift from the gods, a sacred object that enabled humans to engage with the divine. Hunting with the Atlatl could have been seen as a spiritual ritual, one in which the hunter sought the favor of the gods to ensure a successful hunt. Rituals and ceremonies surrounding the Atlatl were likely common, with hunters offering prayers or performing rituals before embarking on a hunt. The tool itself, adorned with carvings or symbolic decorations, may have been treated with reverence, reflecting the importance of the hunt in these early societies. The act of hunting with the Atlatl was thus not only a means of survival, but also a means of communing with the spiritual forces that governed human existence. The Atlatl's role in hunting and warfare, however, was not only about the practical aspects of survival or spiritual symbolism. It also had a profound impact on the social structures of early human societies. As humans began to rely more on the Atlatl for hunting, those who mastered the tool gained status and respect within their communities. The Atlatl, as an object that required skill and expertise to use effectively, became a marker of individual prowess. Those who excelled in using it were seen as leaders or experts, and their abilities in hunting could translate into leadership roles within the group. In this way, the Atlatl played a role in the development of social hierarchies, as individuals gained status based on their skill with the tool. As hunting became more efficient and predictable, early human societies were able to grow larger and more complex. No longer solely focused on survival, these societies began to develop other forms of organization. Trade networks emerged as humans began to exchange goods with neighboring groups, and new forms of governance began to take shape. Leaders and elders, who had gained respect through their skills with the Atlatl and other tools, played crucial roles in organizing these growing communities. The Atlatl, as a central element of hunting and warfare, helped to reinforce social structures, shaping the way that early societies functioned and organized themselves. In addition to its social and spiritual significance, the Atlatl also had a profound impact on early warfare. Prior to its invention, combat was primarily based on close-quarters fighting, where strength and skill were the deciding factors. The Atlatl, however, allowed humans to fight from a distance. In warfare, distance was a significant advantage. The ability to strike from afar gave warriors the opportunity to inflict damage without coming into direct contact with the enemy. The Atlatl thus introduced a new form of warfare, one based not just on physical combat, but on skill, precision, and strategic thinking. It marked the beginning of ranged warfare, which would evolve over time into the development of even more sophisticated weapons, from the bow and arrow to firearms. The Atlatl's introduction of ranged combat revolutionized warfare by changing the dynamics of battle. Early combat was often chaotic, with large groups of people engaging in close-quarters fighting. The Atlatl allowed warriors to engage the enemy from a distance, with greater control and accuracy. This change in strategy would have influenced not just individual battles, but the broader development of military tactics. The shift from close-quarters combat to ranged warfare made possible more organized and strategic forms of conflict, allowing for the development of military strategies that relied on distance, precision, and coordination. The Atlatl's role in this evolution cannot be overstated. It marked a fundamental change in how humans fought and laid the groundwork for the future of military technology. Even as the Atlatl eventually gave way to more advanced weaponry, its legacy endured. The fundamental principles of leverage, force, and range that the Atlatl demonstrated continued to influence the development of weapons and tactics for centuries. While the Atlatl itself may have been supplanted by the bow and arrow and later firearms, its impact on the way humans approached hunting, warfare, and social organization was lasting. It showed humans the power of technology to amplify their abilities and allowed them to gain control over their environment in ways that had never before been possible. In many ways, the Atlatl was the first of many technological innovations that would reshape the course of human history. It was the beginning of a process that would see humans continually finding ways to transcend their physical limitations, using technology to extend their reach and capabilities. Through the Atlatl, early humans learned that they could change their relationship with the natural world, and in doing so, they began to shape their destiny. The Atlatl was more than just a tool. It was a symbol of human ingenuity, resilience, and the desire to shape the world according to human will. It set the stage for the technological advancements that would follow, from the invention of the wheel to the rise of agriculture and metallurgy, and eventually, the development of modern civilization itself. Through the Atlatl, early humans demonstrated that they were more than just survivors, they were creators, innovators, and masters of their environment. This realization marked the beginning of humanity's long journey of technological and cultural evolution, a journey that would see humans continue to expand their capabilities and redefine their place in the world. The Atlatl may have been a small step in the grand narrative of human history, but it was an essential one, laying the foundation for the world we know today. Its legacy is a testament to the power of human ingenuity and the relentless drive to shape the world through innovation and mastery. The Atlatl, despite being a simple and relatively rudimentary tool by modern standards, marked one of the most important advancements in prehistoric human technology. Its simplicity belied the profound impact it had on the trajectory of human development, particularly in the realms of hunting, warfare, and social organization. Prior to its invention, early humans were confined by the limitations of their physical strength and endurance. Hunting large prey, such as mammoths or bison, was a dangerous and taxing endeavor that required immense cooperation and often put individuals at great risk. The advent of the Atlatl was a breakthrough that allowed humans to circumvent these limitations. It enabled them to hunt from a safer distance, increase their success rates, and challenge larger prey that might have been insurmountable using just handheld spears or other rudimentary weapons. By allowing for greater force and accuracy in hunting, the Atlatl transformed how humans interacted with their environment. Hunting no longer required close proximity to animals, which greatly reduced the risk to the hunter. In fact, the ability to strike from a distance allowed early humans to hunt animals that would have otherwise been too dangerous to approach. This included large herbivores like bison, which could be brought down more effectively with a spear thrown with the help of an Atlatl. For the first time, humans could truly manipulate the environment to their advantage, using technology not just to survive, but to thrive. It was a tangible demonstration of how human ingenuity could extend beyond the physical limits of the body, turning the hunter into a more formidable figure, capable of outwitting and outmaneuvering the prey. At the same time, the Atlatl also altered the social dynamics within human communities. As hunting became more efficient, groups could begin to settle in one place for longer periods, establishing permanent homes or semi-permanent camps. No longer did the constant search for food drive their movements. This stability allowed for the growth of larger and more complex social structures. With food security less of a concern, people could devote more time to other activities, including toolmaking, art, trade, and the development of cultural practices. The Atlatl made this shift possible by enabling more predictable hunting, which, in turn, allowed for greater social and cultural development. The ability to hunt more reliably meant that early humans could form larger, more permanent communities. As these communities grew in size, social organization became more important. Specialized roles emerged, with some individuals taking on the responsibility of crafting tools, others focusing on hunting, and still others on gathering, art, or trading. The Atlatl, as a tool that required skill and expertise to use effectively, played a key role in this division of labor. Those who were particularly adept at using the tool may have become leaders within their communities, as their ability to secure food and contribute to the group's survival was highly valued. Over time, this specialization of labor laid the groundwork for the development of more complex social hierarchies, as individuals who excelled at certain tasks gained status and respect within their societies. The efficiency that the Atlatl brought to hunting was not just a practical benefit, it had deep cultural and spiritual significance. Early human societies often viewed hunting not merely as a means of acquiring food, but as a sacred activity, closely tied to their beliefs about the world and their place in it. The Atlatl, as the tool that enabled successful hunts, likely came to be regarded as a symbol of human mastery over nature. It wasn't just a tool for survival, it was a means of connecting with the divine forces that governed the world. In many cultures, hunting was seen as a ritualistic act, one that required respect for the animals being hunted and a connection to the spiritual world. The Atlatl, as the instrument that allowed hunters to succeed, would have been deeply intertwined with these spiritual practices. In some cultures, the Atlatl itself may have been seen as a sacred object, a gift from the gods that made successful hunts possible. Hunters may have performed rituals before using the Atlatl, offering prayers or making sacrifices in hopes of a fruitful hunt. The tool itself may have been decorated with symbols, carvings, or inscriptions that reflected its spiritual significance. The act of using the Atlatl was, in many ways, a form of communion between the hunter and the forces that controlled life and death. Through the Atlatl, early humans were able to engage with the divine, seeking favor for their hunts and ensuring that their communities would be sustained. The Atlatl was not just a tool for physical survival, but a means of connecting with something greater than the self. The spiritual significance of the Atlatl was not limited to its use in hunting. Over time, it became a symbol of human agency, a reminder that humans could manipulate the world around them in ways that were once unimaginable. In a world that was often unpredictable and harsh, the Atlatl provided a sense of control and mastery. It was a tool that demonstrated humanity's capacity for innovation and problem-solving. As humans began to realize the power they had to shape their environment, the Atlatl came to represent more than just a physical object. It symbolized the human ability to transcend the limitations of the body and harness the forces of nature for their own benefit. The Atlatl also had important implications for early human warfare. The tool's ability to launch spears with greater force and accuracy made it an invaluable weapon in battle. Before the Atlatl, combat was primarily a matter of hand-to-hand fighting, where physical strength and endurance determined the outcome. The Atlatl, however, introduced a new dynamic. By allowing warriors to strike from a distance, it gave them the ability to inflict damage while remaining out of harm's way. This shift in the nature of combat was revolutionary. For the first time, human warfare was no longer confined to close-quarters fighting. The ability to fight from a distance allowed for more strategic and organized approaches to conflict, which eventually paved the way for the development of more advanced weapons and military tactics. The influence of the Atlatl on warfare cannot be overstated. It introduced the concept of ranged combat, which became a key feature of human military strategy for millennia. The Atlatl gave warriors the ability to attack enemies from a safe distance, which changed the tactics used in battle. The use of projectiles, whether spears or later, arrows, introduced a new form of warfare that focused not just on strength and bravery but on strategy, precision, and coordination. The Atlatl represented the first step in the evolution of ranged weaponry, and its legacy would continue to shape the development of military technologies throughout history. Even as more advanced weapons, such as the bow and arrow, eventually replaced the Atlatl, its legacy lived on. The basic principles behind the Atlatl, leveraging distance and force, became fundamental to the development of future weaponry. From the bow and arrow to firearms, the idea of using technology to increase the range and power of a projectile continued to dominate warfare. The Atlatl's impact on military technology, therefore, was not just immediate but long-lasting. It set the stage for a whole new era of warfare, one in which distance and precision were paramount. It was the precursor to the weapons of the future, and without it, the evolution of military technology might have looked very different. The Atlatl also influenced the development of other technologies. Its design, which was based on the principle of leverage, was a key innovation that inspired later inventions. The concept of using a lever to amplify force would become a central idea in the development of tools and machines. As humans began to understand the mechanics behind the Atlatl, they could apply this knowledge to other areas of life, from agriculture to architecture. The basic principle of leverage, which had been demonstrated through the Atlatl, became a foundation for the technological innovations that would follow. In this sense, the Atlatl was not just a tool for hunting or warfare, it was a key step in the broader technological evolution of humanity. The cultural impact of the Atlatl was just as profound. As communities became more settled and stable, they began to develop more sophisticated systems of trade, governance, and social organization. The efficiency of hunting, made possible by the Atlatl, allowed for the growth of larger and more complex societies. As people began to specialize in different tasks, from crafting tools to engaging in trade, the division of labor became more pronounced. The Atlatl was a symbol of this division of labor. It was a tool that required skill and expertise to use effectively, and those who mastered it became leaders within their communities. Over time, this specialization of labor led to the formation of social hierarchies, where individuals were valued based on their abilities and contributions to the community. The Atlatl, therefore, played a central role not just in the physical survival of early humans, but in the creation of more complex societies. By making hunting more efficient, it allowed humans to focus on other aspects of life, from cultural and spiritual practices to the development of trade and governance. The Atlatl's influence extended far beyond the hunt, shaping the very structure of early human societies and paving the way for the growth of civilization. Ultimately, the Atlatl was a turning point in human history. It represented the moment when humans first began to transcend the limitations of their own bodies and manipulate the natural world through technology. It was a symbol of human ingenuity and creativity, a testament to humanity's ability to innovate and adapt. The Atlatl allowed early humans to not just survive, but to flourish, and it set the stage for the technological advancements that would follow. It was a simple tool, but its impact was immeasurable, affecting everything from warfare to social organization, from spiritual beliefs to technological innovation. The Atlatl was not just a tool of survival, it was a tool that shaped the course of human history. The Atlatl, a deceptively simple tool, profoundly influenced the course of human history. It was not just a device for hunting, it was a symbol of human innovation, an extension of the human body that allowed early people to overcome their natural limitations. In a world where survival was a constant struggle against the forces of nature, the Atlatl gave humans a new way to assert control over their environment. It was a tool that represented the transition from mere survival to mastery, not just over the prey they hunted but over the very challenges that had once seemed insurmountable. It was a weapon, a tool, and a symbol all in one, carrying deep cultural and spiritual significance. Before the invention of the Atlatl, humans were confined by the constraints of their physical abilities. They had to rely on their own strength, endurance, and agility to catch prey, often putting themselves in dangerous situations as they approached animals that could be much larger and stronger than they were. In these encounters, the risk to the hunter was high. The Atlatl changed all of that. By allowing hunters to launch spears from a distance, it enabled them to hunt larger prey safely. With the added force and accuracy provided by the tool, the human ability to strike from afar meant that the hunter was no longer exposed to the immediate danger of hand-to-hand combat with large animals. The Atlatl leveled the playing field, giving humans the advantage over the creatures they hunted, and in doing so, it changed the very nature of the hunt. The change in the dynamics of hunting was not limited to its practical benefits. The Atlatl also had a profound impact on the social structures of early human groups. Prior to its widespread use, hunting was often a group activity that required close cooperation and coordination. However, the efficiency with which the Atlatl allowed individuals to hunt meant that the reliance on large hunting groups diminished. Instead, specialized roles could emerge, with some individuals focusing on hunting, others on crafting tools or preparing food. The tool made hunting more efficient, which meant that people could spend less time searching for food and more time developing other aspects of their culture. This shift in the division of labor contributed to the development of social hierarchies, where individuals who mastered the Atlatl, and by extension, the ability to procure food, gained greater influence within their communities. With hunting no longer the all-consuming endeavor it once was, early human societies began to evolve in more complex ways. Communities could now settle in one location for longer periods of time, and this stability allowed them to engage in other forms of cultural expression, such as the creation of art, the development of trade, and the growth of spiritual practices. The Atlatl, in a sense, allowed human beings to shift their focus from the immediate survival of the group to the long-term development of civilization. With a more reliable food source, humans could begin to explore other forms of expression and innovation. This included the creation of tools and the development of trade networks that would have far-reaching consequences for the advancement of human society. At the same time, the Atlatl had a spiritual and symbolic importance that went beyond its function as a hunting tool. In many early cultures, hunting was not seen simply as a means of survival but as a ritualistic act. The hunt was often viewed as a spiritual journey, one that connected the hunter with the forces of nature and the divine. The Atlatl, as the primary tool of the hunt, would have held deep symbolic significance. It was not merely a tool for killing, it was a means of connecting with the spiritual world, a conduit through which the hunter could communicate with the gods or spirits that governed life and death. The act of using the Atlatl would have been a sacred event, marked by rituals and ceremonies meant to ensure success and to honor the animals that were hunted. Many early human societies viewed hunting as a gift from the divine, and the Atlatl would have been seen as an instrument of divine favor. In some cultures, the Atlatl may have been decorated with carvings or markings that signified its sacred status. Before embarking on a hunt, hunters may have performed rituals to invoke the favor of the gods or to seek guidance in their pursuit. The Atlatl, as the key to a successful hunt, was an essential part of this process. In this way, the tool was not just a physical object, it was a spiritual artifact, a sacred object that connected humans to the divine. This reverence for the Atlatl extended beyond hunting. Over time, the tool became a symbol of human mastery over nature. As humans increasingly relied on the Atlatl for their survival, it came to represent more than just a means of obtaining food. It symbolized humanity's ability to transcend its physical limitations and to exert control over the natural world. The Atlatl allowed early humans to manipulate their environment in ways that had once seemed impossible. By extending the human arm and allowing for more powerful, accurate strikes, it gave humans a new sense of power and agency.